I trusted her. My wife, Claire, was the woman I built my world around. She was my rock, my partner, the one who stood by me as I clawed my way to the top of Sterling Enterprises. I'm James, the CEO, the guy who turned a failing startup into a multi-billion-dollar empire. But while I was out there shaking hands and closing deals, Claire was orchestrating a betrayal so vile it still makes my blood boil. This is the story of how she humiliated me, how she thought she could destroy me, and how I made sure justice was served my way. It was a Friday night, one of those corporate galas we threw to keep the board happy. I was in Chicago, sealing a merger with a tech giant, while Claire stayed back to host the event at our Manhattan headquarters. She'd always been the charming one, the perfect wife who could work a room, make every suit feel like a king. I never questioned her loyalty. Why would I? She had everything, my love, my wealth, my name. But that night, while I was on a red-eye flight back, she was rewriting our story in the most disgusting way possible. The boardroom, our sanctum of power, turned into her playground. Claire, my Claire, seduced the entire executive team, 7 men and women I'd handpicked to steer my company. They didn't just betray me, they reveled in it. She led them into a drunken, hedonistic frenzy, a party that spiraled into something I can barely describe without losing my cool. They mocked me, laughed at my trust, recorded it all on their phones like it was some sick trophy. Videos of them together, tangled in ways that made a mockery of everything I stood for, with Claire at the center, orchestrating it all. They sent those clips around, thinking I'd never see them, thinking they'd buried me in their debauchery. I found out 2 days later. A junior analyst, some kid too green to know better, forwarded me an email chain he wasn't supposed to see. The subject line read, "Sterling's Fall." My hands shook as I opened the first video. There she was, my wife, in our boardroom, laughing as she played her twisted game, the board lapping it up like dogs. They thought they could humiliate me, that I'd just take it, maybe slink away in shame. They didn't know me at all. I didn't confront Claire right away. No, that would have been too easy. She'd expect tears, yelling, maybe a divorce lawyer. But I'm not built like that. I'm a strategist, a chess player. If they wanted to play dirty, I'd show them what dirty really meant. I spent weeks planning, watching, gathering every scrap of evidence. I hired a private investigator, a guy named Vince who could dig up dirt on a saint. He got me everything, texts, emails, even security footage from that night. Every sordid detail, every name, every laugh at my expense. I didn't sleep much those weeks, but I didn't need sleep. I had rage, and rage is a hell of a fuel. My plan wasn't about violence, not at first. I wanted them to feel what I felt. Humiliation, powerlessness, the sting of being outplayed. I started with the board. One by one, I dismantled their lives, but not with fists or guns. I used their own greed against them. First was Robert, the CFO, a smug bastard who'd been skimming profits for years. I leaked his financial records to the SEC, doctored just enough to make it look like he'd been cooking the books for a decade. He was arrested at his daughter's birthday party, cuffs snapping on in front of his whole family, the look on his face priceless. Then came Lisa, head of marketing, who'd been the loudest in those videos, mocking me while she draped herself over Claire. I had Vince plant a story with a tabloid, complete with photos of her double-dipping in company funds for her side hustle. Her reputation tanked overnight. She was out of a job and blacklisted from every firm in the city. One by one, I picked them off fabricated scandals, anonymous tips to their spouses, whispers to their investors. By the time I was done, half the board was unemployed, divorced, or both. They thought they'd humiliated me? I turned their lives into a public circus. But Claire was the real challenge. I couldn't just ruin her career. She didn't have one. She lived off my success, my name. So I had to get creative. I waited until the annual shareholder meeting, the one event where she loved to play the perfect wife, basking in the glow of my achievements. I let her think everything was fine, that I hadn't seen the videos, that I was still the clueless husband. She strutted into that meeting in a red dress, all smiles, shaking hands like she owned the place. Then I took the stage. The room was packed investors, analysts, the press. I started my speech as usual, talking numbers, growth, the future. Then I paused, looked straight at Claire and said, "But before we continue, there's a personal matter I need to address." The room went silent. I clicked a remote, and the massive screen behind me lit up with a carefully edited version of their videos. Not the explicit parts. Nothing that'd get me sued or banned, but enough. Enough to show Claire leading the charge, enough to show the board's betrayal, enough to make every jaw in the room drop. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Claire froze, her face white as a sheet. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice steady, "this is what happens when you trust the wrong people. But don't worry, Sterling Enterprises is stronger than ever, because I'm not going anywhere." The room erupted in chaos, reporters scrambling, shareholders shouting. Claire tried to run, but I'd hired security to escort her out, right through the paparazzi I'd tipped off. By morning, her face was on every gossip site, every business blog labeled the disgraced wife of James Sterling. She was a pariah, cut off from the social circles she'd ruled, her name poison. But I wasn't done. Ruining their reputations was just the opening act. I wanted them to feel trapped, like I did when I saw those videos. So I bought a warehouse, an old, abandoned place on the outskirts of Jersey. I didn't kidnap anyone too messy, too risky. Instead, I invited them, one by one, under false pretenses. A private meeting to discuss their severance, I called it. They showed up, desperate for a way back into my good graces. Pathetic. The warehouse was my stage. I'd turned it into a maze of sorts, rigged with cameras, speakers, and traps. Not lethal, but psychological. Each one got their own personalized hell. For Robert, it was a room looping footage of his arrest, his kids crying over and over. For Lisa, it was a fake press conference where actors posing as reporters grilled her about her scandals while she stammered, unable to escape. Each trap was designed to break them down, to make them relive their shame, their betrayal, their fall. They'd beg, cry, promise anything to make it stop. I watched it all from a control room, their please music to my ears. Claire got the grand finale. I lured her to the warehouse with a fake olive branch, a chance to talk things out. She showed up, still trying to play the victim, tears in her eyes, saying she was sorry, and it was a mistake. I didn't buy it. I led her to a room with a single chair, a screen, and a mirror. The screen played a montage of her life, our wedding, our vacations, every moment she'd thrown away. Then it cut to the boardroom videos, her laughter, her cruelty. The mirror forced her to face herself, to see what she'd become. I left her there for hours, the door locked, the screen looping. When I finally let her out, she was broken, sobbing, begging for forgiveness. I didn't say a word. I just walked away. Justice wasn't just served, it was orchestrated. I didn't need to spill blood or break laws. I used their own weaknesses, their own egos to tear them apart. The board is gone, scattered, their careers in ruins. Claire? She's living in a one-bedroom apartment somewhere in Queens, her friends long gone, her name a punchline. Sterling Enterprises is thriving, stronger than ever, with a new board loyal to me. And me? I'm not the same man I was. I'm harder, sharper, untouchable. They thought they could break me, but I showed them what happens when you cross James Sterling. I didn't just win. I rewrote the game.